Thank you. I sit on the Natural Resources Committee, and I hope and I wish that the concern for the national parks and the people continues after this. We actually had a hearing. The Republicans invited a witness whose suggestion was to basically allow all the national parks to charge market value. And if they charge market value, that would leave out the very people that we're talking about, average Americans who want access to their parks. So we shouldn't be sitting here acting shocked that closing the parks was part of closing the government. Of course it was. But what I am shocked about is the tone in this place, and I'm embarrassed to be sitting here, and I would like to apologize. We can all have differences of opinion, and we clearly do. And I hope the difference of opinion will be solved today. I urge my colleagues across the aisle to accept that vote tonight, if we have it, that the Senate, the bipartisan Senate agreement will be coming to us. So we do have disagreements, but we shouldn't be talking like this. And the attack on you, Director, I apologize. It's as ugly as I have seen, and I have seen some pretty ugly things here. This is my 5th year here, so I am very, very upset about this. I thought about walking out, and I thought, no, I need to tell all of you that we recognize how difficult this is. You didn't shut down the government. You didn't. They did, and they need to acknowledge that. I can't imagine that there's anybody who works in a national park or dedicates his or her life to serving the public that any of them would say, oh, let's close it during their busiest season. Let's keep Americans out of the parks. These parks belong to Americans, and our American workers have protected the parks and loved the parks and served the American people every single day until they shut the government down. Now, the reason the government was shut down was not because they had a problem with the parks. It wasn't anything else that they were worried about. Their problem was that the Affordable Care Act was still there. And so they shut the government down in their pursuit to try to either alter or end the Affordable Care Act, which happens to be law, also was upheld by the Supreme Court. And so their last stand here is to insult the people, insult the federal workers, insult all those, and also to try to deny culpability for the impact, the economic impact that this has had on our nation. In my great state of New Hampshire, we have people who travel from all over the world to see the leaves. It's an annual event, and it's a pretty special show that God has provided for all of us. And yet we've been seriously impacted. Small businesses in New Hampshire and our New Hampshire economy was impacted, not because of the federal workers, but because of the Congress. And so to turn around and try to shift the blame and the responsibility is stunning. And that alone would be awful. But to hear the tone and the meanness and the accusations and the insults, my stomach has been twisting the whole time. I had a note that I had written. I was hoping to hand it off to the chairman, but he left. And so please, can you and everyone else leave out these personal attacks and nasty tones? Americans expect us to ask tough questions, make tough statements, but be civil. Civility. We can disagree. We do disagree. But again, I apologize for the tone here. I apologize for the insults. I thank you, Director Jarvis, for the work that you have done for this country. And they have a right and an obligation to ask questions. But we don't have a right to bring in federal employees and treat them as if we're just batting them around like a cat with a mouse. And for that, I apologize, and I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back her time. Chair recognizes the gentleman from